The following video is mostly opinion, but I'm going to be citing sources that anybody can look up. And yeah, I'm going to use Wikipedia not because it's accurate, but because you can check what they cite, number one, and number two, because it pisses people off and people cannot compel themselves not to say, that's your Wikipedia. I love doing that to people because if that's the first thing out of your mouth after this 20-second intro, Sumerians, Sumeria, Sumerian tablets. They had no science and technology. Anything they say has to be impossible, or it must astound or boggle scientists, or you know, they're flabbergasted, or some other wording like that. They're stunned. Any claims about the solar system must be completely false. Let's get over this really quickly here. If you're not aware of it, modern world that you and I live in right now is maybe a couple of hundred years old as far as the modern methodology we use that gets this shit done. Where you can plop modern, normal human beings that actually work for a living, some of you don't, who do a diverse group of things, and they can muddle about and eventually rebuild civilization if you give them the opportunity to do so. And people have done that since wars happen and people have to basically start from Stone Age and go forward. This happens so often that it's just kind of what we are now. Okay, we've been technologically adept for several hundred years. Let's call it 300. I'm not gonna, just let's say 300 minimum. Okay. It only took 300 years to get to the point that we can literally land on the moon. Don't ever forget that, okay? All right. 3,150 BC to 1,800 BC, on average, is the period of time when Sumerians were a distinct group and or nation on average. At minimum, it's from the year 2,900 BC to the year 1,900 BC. But it always has some caveat and whatever. It's about 1,000 years. So we've got anywhere from 1,000 years to, well, the maximum over here, which is 3,300 BC to 1,700 BC. Excuse me. So we've got over 1,500 years, 1,500 years, all the way down to about 1,000 years. So you think in 1,000 years, an organized group of people that covers a pretty good sized area in what was at the time southern, or what we consider southern Iraq, during a period of time when they had relative ease of life, enough food, water, and enough social structure to get shit done, that in that 1,000-year period of time, they couldn't do shit. You have to actually bash your head into a fucking amazingly twisted way to believe that they couldn't fucking just reinvent the wheel at least. Also, some people will bring up from the 5th to 4th millennium BC. Well, that's anywhere from 3,000 BC back to 5,000 BC. That's not the time range. When people say 1st and 2nd century and then talk about BC or AD, you have to actually look up what the thing means instead of just saying 3,000 BC to 3,300 BC further back in time. You could just use it. No, we have to use millenniums and no, actually you don't. You could actually use BC and AD. This is going to insult some people. A very narrow group of people, so I don't give a shit. Go ahead and take a swing at me in the street. BCE, before Common Era, by putting an E on the front of BC so you can eliminate usage of BC. I don't care what it's based on, before Christ, AD, I can't pronounce it, after death, after Christ. I don't care if you're upset by it. That's what we've been using for so fucking long. Just shut up. Shut the fuck up. If you want to use the timing system that we should be using from the time of, not Christ, but from the time of agriculture, AA, after agriculture, you just take the time and date stamp and add a 1 next to it. So instead of this being 2,000 something, it's 12,000 something. Because that's how long human beings have been adept at the basics that people were doing in 1800. Now I'm going to repeat that. People have been living The way people were living in the 1800s, I'm not joking, everything involved, potentially back 10,000 fucking years earlier than the date you have on your calendar. And in case you haven't noticed, you can go to any city, county, or state that used to be there. Go look up things, old maps. See how many towns have been not just abandoned, but recycled to where they were turned back into farmland. You can erase an entire civilization by just needing to plant food everywhere. Please don't give me this shit. It took us 300 years, 400 years. Let's call it 400. Let's make it more time. Be generous. These people had 1,000 years to do some shit, but they couldn't invent anything. Y'all a bunch of cunts. Shut up. Yeah, but I don't care what you have to say. I've stopped listening to people. I don't listen to the dumbasses anymore. I can't do it. 1,000 years, an organized fucking civilization, a bunch of city-states that became a nation-state in Mesopotamia called Sumeria. Timing range for Mesopotamia and the city-states and such. This is the basis for saying it's about 1,000 years to 1,600 years here. Okay, that's plenty of fucking time to get shit done. Not the 5th and 4th millennium. Please fucking stop doing it. Everybody on Wikipedia, stop doing these roundabout bullshit things. Just put in BC and AD and get rid. If it says BCE, get rid of it and say, I'm drawing a line in the sand. Stop it. It's an extra digit. You're wasting bits on the internet. Think of the modems. Anyway, this is all because Sumeria, where Mesopotamia city-states existed, Sumeria as an area was from 3,300 BC to 1,900 BC. Yeah, it's a narrow range. And cuneiform writing was in use, so you could decide it was Sumeria, but the Sumerians' usage of it was from 2,900 BC to 180 by people outside of the population. The language they created, or they used commonly, was spoken from almost 3,000 BC to almost 1700 BC, but it's actually 2900 BC to 1700 BC. That's over 1,000 fucking years of a language being around. The written language lasted long after that, sort of like Latin does these days. We still use Latin terms and stuff. And their nations or city-state collection inside of Mesopotamia, the area, Sumeria, was around for a really long time. It's over 1,000 years, easily. Akkadian became the region's language, and Sumeria basically fell out of existence and was absorbed by other populations from the year 2100 BC to 1700 BC. Their written language, their variation of cuneiform, lasted a long time. And if you're going to bring it up, Sumerian kings were in a list that was revised, meaning forged, by rulers to make their claims to power valid by claiming a pedigree. They lied all the time because the people who made the rules and held the files burned them and made new ones. You can't cite the list, Zachary Sitchin, the bitchin'. Next, claim. Sumerian tablet proves the sky has a ceiling. And it's impossible. Solar system knowledge was because they had no science or technology. Obviously, over a 1,000 year period of time where they were literally going around and recycling areas, establishing and tearing down towns. Do you have any idea how much of a screaming cast iron bitch it is, literally, to make iron? They're going to dig up shit everywhere. Iron, copper, bronze, yeah, sky iron, meteorite iron, meteoric iron has been recycled on this planet for a very long time. It's one of the few good sources for, decent quality iron to make shit out of. Oh, well, what about if it rusts, yes, there's a way of reprocessing rust back into iron. It doesn't work very well, but it's like recycling slag. Go watch people do that on YouTube channels where they're melting down metal and turning the slag, meaning oxidized and or contaminated materials, and converting it back and forth. They have plenty of science and technology. Yeah, but I don't care. So most of history, what history is what we can find, usually in garbage piles. But if you're desperate enough, you're recycling the garbage piles. And if you're in our current year, You're recycling shit because you find out you need to. It makes you independent of other sources. You don't have to import shit if you keep recycling it. Stop being a wasteful bunch of dumbasses. And then suddenly, if you're recycling everything, you're no longer desperate, and suddenly it becomes the rule of the day. Look up us recycling shit during the wars. Because it worked a little bit, or a lot, depending on where you were and what you were talking about. Ancient Sumerians left behind a fuck ton of shit. Astronomical calendar tablets that had constellations, the sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. The 7 days of the week are referenced to these. Like literally moon day. And they had comet sightings. Just like every other fucking population. It's what you can see with naked, it's called naked eye observation, or being an observatory. They would make notes of things in boring looking tables that looked like people were counting wheat and sheep or something, but it was counting planets and stars movements. And they're called planets because they wander among the stars, and the stars are a static background mostly. And anything that moved different from it was noted because they would create star maps and compare them. And there are other groups of people who did it even further back. Yeah, but no, you're not allowed to talk. Shut up. Put on the dunce cap and listen. Okay, here we go. Zachary Sitchin wanted to sell books. Everybody else who tells you anything else other than what I've told you, which is the pretty much basic thing, that if you have 1,000 years of a society, we live in a society, of a society that's not completely collapsing on itself. The current year just intruded on the chat. You can get some shit done. We're fucked. We're just fucked. But no, really, they had 1,000 years to get some stuff straightened out. You didn't think they could do some star maps. Somebody actually believed that. Look at the region they're in. You have warm nights, and they're long during wintertime, but they're warm enough that you can tolerate them. And you could sit there and make star maps and say, well, we don't. Yeah, because they did it on whatever was available and the material went away. Unless they chiseled it in stone or made it in clay tablets, which is what we're talking about here, we don't have it anymore. More data has been lost than maybe we have found in the last 300 years. You kind of understand that? No, it's not ancient aliens and shit. It's a lot of people not liking the fact that people literally thousands of years ago, we're bordering on some of the populations I've talked about on my channel being back at the time of literally about 10,000 BC, when we have proof that they were adept at shit. Basically, human beings suddenly got a massive improvement in brain capacity and started abusing the hell out of it. Our analytical skills are like that. If you're not aware of it, there's an organic level of functionality in your brain that allows you to do fucking calculus. When I was a kid, I could do calculus. I didn't know how I was doing it, but I could get the numbers right. Once I figured out ratios and numbers, I could do actual, honest-to-goodness calculus. Because calculus is primarily used to solve the difficult problem of real 3D space shit. Things happening in reality. Well, if your brain observes stuff long enough, your mind has the ability to at least approximate what we would call calculus. We discovered it. We didn't create it. And all of the basis for this is very, very old. But no, it has to be aliens. No, it has to all be mysterious instead of just lost data. I want you to look at the news stories for the last 100 years. How many people can you find cases of them burning libraries down to destroy history because they wanted to make sure people were ignorant later on and would believe in Jesus or Allah or whatever, or they just wanted to literally watch the world burn? Look up how many people like that exist. Okay, but nobody in the past could have done that in a fit of rage or insanity and burned down, I don't know, a big library that I'm still fucking angry about. So anyway, no, the Sumerian tablets don't prove whatever the fuck it is you believe they prove. And they weren't ignorant, and they weren't technologically or scientifically illiterate, because all science and technology is observed reality, and the technology is implement it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And go observe a beehive and figure out some math.